This one, this one is doing really well. You kind of need, what I want everybody to think about. What I want everybody to think about is be sure that your wrinkles don't just turn into lines, and yours haven't, but there's a little bit of that feel there. So when you look at the picture, you can see that these folds have different, like this is a thicker looking area right there. There's more shadow right there. It gets really thin right here and then a little thicker. And this one is much wider than that area, so on and so forth. You want to pay attention to those kinds of things. Also, an area like that, you don't want that edge.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're going to do is you're going to use, I will do this on yours. You're going to use your magic sponge.
I have some.
I have, we have a whole big supply in the classroom.
Okay. I like to.
So we are going to, you start out very gently and you see just how much pressure you have to do. This is wet now on dry paper. And I just stroke it. I kind of stroke and lift like that.
Mm-hmm.
I do a kind of a little, so right here, you can keep the line. You just need for the area next to it to get darker so it doesn't stand out so much. But here you want something that, so when you paint this area up in here, you're going to blend it down into this area. You can see where the brownish tint is actually all the way down to the eyelid.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to pull a little bit in there. In fact, you could lift here just a little bit. Now, another place that a whole lot of you need to lift is here. And what happens is this picture, I'm laying in water, and then I'm going to spread it everywhere. Okay. This picture has a little bit of reflected light on it. It's very, very weak. So you would think, well, I don't need to pay attention to it because there's not much of anything there. And normally in a lot of paintings, I would exaggerate the dark and, you know, and maybe even make it flat or something, depending on what it was and what I wanted it to do. But here it comes off, kind of has an unnatural feel when you do that. So what I'm going to suggest is this is a very, very gentle lift. You don't want to lift much, but you might want to pull up just tiniest amount, not all the way into the middle, but just kind of around those edges, maybe about like that. That might be enough. I did kind of a thing there. Okay. So, and you might come back in and actually, because I lifted more area than I wanted, you might come back in and deepen right in here again, you know, but that little bit of gray will give you a lot more natural feel, and a whole lot of people, including Cindy's, here's the thing, when you look at something that's a photograph that's taken especially with a phone, that algorithm makes some of your darks look darker, so she may have more shape in there, you know. But when I see her next, I'll look at it because it looked like this was a little heavy. Okay, so you're just looking for that kind of thing, but these are like actual magic. They are so good. They are so important.
PFM.
I think they're phenomenal.
That's the best tool in my kit.
So you can see right here, I've pulled some of the pink on down in here. I don't have reflected light here, but I've got more light there. It's just a matter of this not becoming just this heavy spot that feels flat. And I added more pink than what shows up in the photo because I thought it enhanced it some. Now,
Did you use Queen Coral for that?
I did use Queen Coral, yes. I did use Queen Coral, and I don't think, did I do that with y'all?
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
gave us some.
Okay. So let's see, what was I gonna look at? All right. I have got here, I have got our mixture, I think. You know, the Quinn Birch Scarlet and the Quinn Gold. Just using a lot of that scarlet. And for where I'm working with the wrinkles, I think I want to deepen that a little bit. And a lot of the time, I will deepen reds, and I guess I could call this a red. I will deepen reds with burnt umber. Now that's not like always every time, but even if you're working with like quinacridone rose or something, sometimes burnt umber does a wonderful thing for making shadows when you mix them together. So let's see, I think I need a little more red. Okay, so let's look at this. Now, I've been talking to some of y'all about this really good little brush. And then I don't remember what I did in class last week with y'all, but I have a smaller brush because some of these areas, this is just a little too juicy. So I'm going to pick up with this, and I'm looking at the shapes of my wrinkles here, and I'm not real happy with some of it. Oh, well, no wonder I have just left a whole bunch out of it. For instance, there is a whole wrinkle up here that I totally lost. And what I needed to do is I should have gone back and drawn that in with a pencil. But there's almost kind of a triangle here. Well, that's nowhere near dark enough because I have nothing there. So, what I am, Charlie, would you get that sample that I laid over by you?
I brought it up to get my peaks.
Okay. So I determined brilliantly last week after I had y'all do it the other way that one way to do this would be to go over some of these darks while it's, fresh, but before you wash them out, and to do it with burnt umber because burnt umber is going to merge with the other color better, and I think that that'll be easier to work on. So let's just take some burnt umber here and mix into that and see what it's going to do. And then what I want is I want some soft edges on that because that's sure not going to look right like that. This is what I used to use constantly, and I'm back to it. This is my best brush for blending. Maybe I'll take a little water out of the belly. These are just easy to blend edges with. So I'm going to go in there and just barely touch the edge and try to pull it out here. Oh, I think I'm going to make it too little. And the paint is very thick. I added the paint in very thick, which I wanted, but now it's not moving very well. So sometimes you have to adjust, particularly when you get started. If you're not warmed up yet, you know how that goes. Well, maybe you don't, but I'm real good at
I know.
So I'm gonna take a little bit of our darker mixture that I already mixed. I'm gonna add that to the edges of this. Well, if one thing doesn't work, you try something else, right? So let's add that in there. And then let's soften those edges. Something's got to work because we're filming it. Okay. So that's getting closer. That's closer. I think I took up a little more than that than I wanted. So maybe when that's dry, I may alter it some, but I think that's working. Let's take some more of this mixture, and this needs to go a whole lot darker here. And I think, for the most part, you're best off using burnt umber. See, here I want to get a lot darker, so I'm going to use a mixture that's got a lot more burnt umber in it. when you need to get a lot darker, I'm going to suggest burnt umber and only going to a gray or a black when either the color is asking for it, like maybe here on the ears, that would use more of a black with a pink, or someplace it gets super, super dark. But in order to make a convincing shadow, you probably, the burnt umber will blend in better and make a more convincing shadow. So let's just soften this edge. And here I am doing it with the round brush. Okay, so I like that. Of course, this whole area needs to be a whole lot darker. Everything up here needs to be darker. So eventually I'm going to have to come in and do that. But right now I have to look at what my painting needs, and what my painting needs and what your painting needs may be two different things. But I have totally neglected this area right here. I also came back, by the way, and added some cerulean into some of my grays last week, just on top of them. After they were dry, I just sort of glazed it in and waited to see when it dried if it was strong enough. If it wasn't, I went back and added a little more. So let's see. So I'm working a small enough area that I think I'm doing better blending with the little brush. And this is, I used to paint everything with these, and I love it still, but maybe not today. So let's go inside the ear too, and let's get a lot darker. We want to make this recede. So right there, and we could get a little darker over here too. What you want to be careful about is not to like come along and do an outline along there. That's a tempting thing. You want to find shapes that are not outlines as much as you can. So areas like that, yeah, I'll have to come back here and work on this and this, but you can see that. Now let's see, let's get, what was this? All right, one of the things I did was I started painting on this without having gone over my drawing, and I got lost. It's real easy to get lost in these wrinkles. Here is, yeah, I have really messed up here. Okay, well, odds are that he can still be believable. But I'm desperately making up a wrinkle, trying to make up for messing up. Okay, down here, I'm okay with this. This is a little darker than what's in the picture, but I think it's good to go dark in the shadow. And I want to run this wrinkle off down here. That is one place that's going to work better if I get it anatomically correct. Do you think if he laid down a second time, if his wrinkles would fall all the same way?
Nope.
You sound like a man of experience.
I had a lot of wrinkles.
But do you look at them when you lay down?
Not usually.
Well, then, you don't know. Okay, right in there, we could get a little bit darker. You see, I'm just going over and tweaking areas and touching up. And when he's in this teenage stage, there's a real good chance that once you start tweaking and fixing a little bit, that he's going to come around for you. So one of the things when a painting is in a teenage stage, possibly at least one like this, if you will go in and just find an area, an ear or an area around the eye or something, and go ahead and finish it, you'll see that it's working, and then you'll feel more like going to another area. Whereas if you try to kind of do a whole bunch of stuff all over, it can get a little bit discouraging sometimes because if it still looks teenage, you know, you just don't feel good. So I would say, you know, build up, and really one of the things he needs right here, which I do not have it out handy, the white ink, is that he needs a highlight here. That's really not where the highlight should go, but usually there's a secondary glow in there somewhere. I might leave that, and I might put a highlight, a little highlight right there, with the white ink, so that even that, you see how it just brought him to life a little bit, having that little bit of a highlight. And then you feel better about the whole dog when he's got that. So I think that's enough to get you started. Everybody's in a different place, and I'll just come around.
Okay.
Yeah, stop. Thank you so much.
Okay. Nope.
Oh.